One way to gauge the effectiveness of metaphors is to consider whether they are conventional or unconventional. When a metaphor is conventional, it is widely and easily comprehensible. Think of comparing a straightforward business process with cooking and following a recipe. But conventional metaphors may also be easy to ignore and forget. Consider then an original metaphor, like for example, comparing the notion of putting customers first, therefore pampering them, with a giraffe in a cozy bathtub. It may be harder to understand the metaphor at first, but it might be more memorable because it generates incongruity and surprise. Is it worthwhile to develop a fresh metaphor, or would a predictable one be better? In one neuroscience study I conducted, I asked the buyers to view a sales presentation for a tech platform related to digital transformation. Group 1 viewed the presentation with no visual metaphors. Groups 2 and 3 viewed the same presentation but with an increasingly higher number of cliché metaphors. And groups 4 and 5 viewed an increasingly higher number of fresh metaphors. When buyers viewed the highest number of fresh metaphors, they experienced low cognitive workload, significantly increased excitement, increased visual attention, a eureka effect, and all these converted into remembering the content better. By contrast, buyers who saw cliché metaphors experienced more fatigue, they were less attentive during the most important parts of the sales presentation, and also had lower long-term memory. Since metaphors are a universal language for sales content, I recommend creating fresh metaphors and avoiding predictable ones. What does it take to create an original metaphor? Prior to the neuroscience study, I completed a pilot test to make sure that what we considered cliché and fresh metaphors, other people did too. For example, I used a picture of someone fake drawing on a screen to symbolize digital transformation. I considered that cliché, and other people did too. To show the same idea of digital transformation in a more creative way, I used an image of a VHS tape progressing to a Netflix screen with movie options. Other people voted it as creative also. Complexity visualized through multiple gears was considered cliché, but complexity symbolized through an Apple laptop with two identical keyboards was considered original. Visualizing the notion of making a mistake by showing crumpled pieces of paper was considered cliché, but visualizing the same concept by showing a fish in a blender and someone about to press the start button was considered more creative. Wicked, but creative. So, be prepared to put in some effort to create original metaphors. It may be tempting to rely on AI tools to generate creative ideas, but the more you outsource your creativity to machines, the fewer skills you have to be creative. And when you have fewer creativity skills, how would you even know that what the machine gives you is indeed fresh? One way to practice your creativity and generate better metaphors is to force your brain to move beyond habitual thinking. This is hard but not impossible. It's hard because your brain has evolved for efficiency and takes shortcuts to save energy. When you perceive information in the usual way, your brain requires little energy. But if you routinely dismiss typical ideas, you will get into the habit of looking deeper, looking longer, looking differently. When you develop these skills, then you can ask the AI tools for creative ideas. And when you analyze the machine's output, consider one definition of originality, which can mean something that is statistically rare. As you're analyzing what the machine creates, be aware that the output might be a mix of what a lot of people have expressed before. Therefore, the suggestions might not be statistically rare. So, use the AI tool to validate your own work. If the creations from the machine are a zig and your creation is a zag, then you're on the right track.